If I told you to think about the American dream, you might think of suburbs and the classic white picket fence. And this is supported by the fact that 69% of Americans live in suburbs. That comes from Anderson 2020. However, suburbs are a massive drain on our health, environment, and our pockets. Mixed use and sustainable building practices will lead to a better environment and increase the quality of life of society. We've been moving persistently towards a more sustainable building due to growing environmental consciousness. This is paramount to our society, as our planet doing well will lead to us doing well as well. More sustainable building practices are a way of achieving this goal. Reducing carbon footprint will increase the health of our society. A study by Jones and Kamen found that dense metropolitan areas emit less household carbon emissions than places in the suburbs due to it being denser and it being more efficient. Through their study, we are able to conclude that denser areas are able to reduce their carbon output and contribute to less than sprawled out areas in suburbia. Transportation is the largest contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, accounting for 28% of our greenhouse gas emissions, and 80% of that 28% is due to vehicle emissions, and that comes from United States Protection Agency, the EPA. Due to moving away from the city and our jobs, this requires us to drive farther and rely on cars to travel farther to get to our jobs and work and the city and downtown and all of that, which increases the emissions of our vehicle emissions overall. And this can be combated through using more public transportation in urban areas, which mixed use building would allow us to accomplish. Carbon emissions aren't the only problem from vehicles. 32,000 deaths and 2 million injuries occur annually from motor vehicle crashes. That comes from Miller 2018. The abundance of vehicles on the road leads to increased motor vehicle crashes and accidents on the road, leading to more injury on citizens, and which is another problem, not just from the emissions of the cars. Vehicles on the road also impact air quality and lead to higher levels of pollutants like ozone and particulates, which lead to respiratory issues and lung cancer, and that comes from Resnick 2010. Not only do emissions harm the environment, but they can also harm ourselves and our lungs. Beyond respiratory health, sprawl negatively affects our cardiovascular health, with 35% of residents in walkable neighborhoods classified as overweight, and that number jumps to 60% in less walkable sprawling areas. That comes from Olden 2005. The promotion of sedentary lifestyles by suburbia versus more walkable areas in more urban areas, in mixed-use areas, and in cities negatively will impact our health, causing us to not want to walk to the store or walk to a restaurant. Instead, we would need to drive, which would cause us to walk a lot less. And although there are a multitude of benefits, not everyone sees it that way. One reason people might be against newer building practices is their assumption that it's too expensive. That comes from Morrison in 2021. Another reason is having to overcome zoning laws and people voting against certain types of buildings in different areas. That also comes from Morrison 2021. And overall, many people are put off by a larger upfront cost that could eventually save money in the long run, just due to the large upfront cost, and maybe they are just against the idea of mixed use and greener building practices in general. That could be due to ideology, or they're just unfamiliar with the topic entirely. Although people may be standoffish of these new practices, that doesn't mean that their reasoning is correct. We can show how it can reduce cost. Greener building practices can give energy savings of up to 50 to 70%, depending on the green building practices, and that comes from the EPA as well in 2024. Utilizing more sustainable building practices may have a greater upfront cost, but it can end up saving energy through reducing energy cost annually. Yeah. Convincing people of the benefits of mixed-use housing can come in many different forms, such as how I've mentioned before, the negative effects of suburbia, and showing how the potential harms that come with maintaining our constant expansion, and showing that mixed-use housing in more urban areas would get rid of those problems and help mitigate the risks involved with the problems that come from a sprawling city. Yes, and although transitioning to new ideas isn't easy, and it can be met with roadblocks, that doesn't mean we should stop promoting the helping of society. Improving the lives of citizens and the health of the environment is crucial to our success as a species, and utilizing tools like mixed-use housing and more sustainable building practices will help achieve this goal. And although we don't have many examples of mixed-use buildings and widespread sustainable building, which we do some places in the United States. I know there's places in North Carolina that have implemented some ideas of these and have seen great results. We have seen the positive results come with it. Convincing others and implementing these ideas starts with us, and making the more sustainable choice will not only help your city, but also the people inside of it.